understand what the compound effect is, let's play out a little scenario. Now pretend someone offered you the following. Put in 30 minutes a day, the same time every day, to push your skills and show improvement. At the end of the first week, you'll get $10, with a 10% raise at the end of each week if you consistently put in the time day after day. Or, you were offered $5,000 to put in the same amount of time, but you don't need to do it on a consistent basis. And you don't need to improve your skills. You can just use your existing skill set. Now, which would you take? Let's say you took the first option and your friend takes the second. You start putting in a small amount of consistent work each day. After an entire month of daily effort, you've made $51.01. Meanwhile, your friend has just cashed in a check for $5,000. After the second month, your friend is rubbing it in your face. He's just made $10,000, not needing to push himself, and here you are working day after day for a petty $125.81 up to this point. Your family starts suggesting that you should take the other offer as it's still on the table. But you don't get discouraged. You believe in what you're doing and you know the hard work will pay off one day. After the third month, people are getting downright angry with you. You've only made $235.24. They think you've made a stupid decision and beg you to just take the other offer. But you ignore them and keep proceeding. A year goes by. You only have $15,541 to your friend's $60,000. He's living a comfortable life and doesn't really have a care in the world. Meanwhile, people are openly ridiculing you for giving up such a great opportunity to make easy money. Only after 16 months have you made the same amount of money as your friend. Your friends and family only have one thing to say: it's about time. After 16 months of putting in the work day after day and receiving a 10% increase at the end of each week, only now are you starting to see significant results. The next month, you make $40,000 in 1 month. The month after that, you make $59,000. At the end of that second year, you have accumulated just over $2.2 million, an average of $1.1 million per year, to your friend's $60,000 a year. Your family and friends are dumbfounded. Your friend can't help but think he's missed out on something significant. Sure, he's comfortable with 60 grand a year, but he's filled with regret. What this story illustrates is that small, unsexy, but smart decisions made consistently every day that are in alignment with your big vision lead to seemingly incomprehensible and incredible results. Results that you can be truly proud of one day. Author Darren Hardy calls this the compound effect. We live in a culture that promotes what Darren calls a microwave mentality. We expect instant downloads, fast food, and same-day shipping. To stay true to the compound curve, we need to trade the need for immediate results for immediate alignment with our core values. Darren says your core values are your internal compass, your guiding beacon, your personal GPS. They act as the filter through which you run all life's demands, requests, and temptations, making sure they're leading you towards your intended destination. Getting your core values defined and properly calibrated is one of the most important steps in redirecting your life towards your grandest vision. When you know that what you're doing from moment to moment, that the choices and decisions that you're making from moment to moment are in alignment with your core values, you stop needing to have instant results show up in your life. You are content in knowing that you are becoming the person that you want to become. To know that we are on the right path, the compound path, we need to focus and measure the percent gains, not the net gains. In the initial example, if I would have focused on the net income I was making each month and how petty it was in comparison to my friend, then I would have given up. But by focusing on the month-over-month return, the percent gain I was achieving each month, I developed the certainty to stick with it. So during your pursuits, actively measure the percent gains and focus on your momentum. If your efforts are producing month-over-month or week-over-week improvements, and your daily choices are aligning with your core values, then you need to be patient. We humans routinely overestimate what we can produce in a week, but we vastly underestimate what we can produce in a few months or years of sustained effort.
I remember growing up and my parents always telling me to save my money. I had used to run lemonade stands with my friends, and by the end of the day I might have made about $10. After putting everything away, I found myself battling the force of instant gratification, which always seemed to win one way or another. Within minutes, we would walk to the grocery store and spend all the money on candy and donuts. Today, people struggle more with instant gratification than any other time in history because we are used to getting what we want quickly. The internet delivers your information instantly. McDonald's gives you a Big Mac within a few short minutes. We're used to getting what we want right away, and most people have almost completely lost their patience and ability to delay gratification. The compound effect is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, and when you put it to work for you, it can send positive ripple effects throughout your life. The effect is easy to understand, and it's based on making small, consistent choices every single day, which over time will lead to exponential results. It can be applied to wealth, health, relationships, and almost anything that your mind can think of. There's an old story that involves a man riding a horse. The man is riding fiercely and looks as if he is on his way to somewhere important. The man passes a woman, and she says to him, "Where is it that you're going in such a hurry?" With a frantic look on his face, the man says to the woman, "I don't know." Most people are galloping away on the horse of habit and have no idea where they are going. If you want to put the compound effect to work for you, then you must grab the reins and direct your habits in life. The tiny choices that you make each day might not seem like they have any effect, but over a long period of time the compound effect kicks in and all of those tiny choices come together to produce a profound result. Let's take a look at Bob. Over the last 10 years, since Bob left high school, he has wanted to get into shape and lose weight. Bob doesn't realize that the compound effect is always in action, and it can work for or against him. Every day, Bob makes a tiny choice to eat a small cupcake with his morning coffee. The cupcake is only 150 calories, so what is it going to hurt? Unfortunately, Bob never goes to the gym and eats roughly the same amount of food every single day. Over the period of 5 years, the compound effect kicks in, and the tiny choice that Bob has made every day to eat the cupcake begins to compound. 150 calories per day times 365 times 5 years equals 78 pounds of fat. By making the choice to eat 150 calories extra per day, Bob has gained almost 78 pounds within 5 years. If you want to harness the power of this universal law, you must make small, consistent choices over a long period of time. For example,
in the book, Dazza gives an analogy which, to me at least, best describes this book better than I could in any other words. So picture a manual hand pump which you get groundwater from. So I hope you've seen one of these hand pumps in action, but if you don't know, the hand pump requires someone to be on the end pushing up and down. It actually requires a lot of effort because it's creating a vacuum pressure to bring in the groundwater from under the ground up to surface level. So the average person would pump very hard for a short while, and when they notice no water is coming out the end of the pipe, they would just give up. The truth is, a vacuum pressure is still created, but they didn't pump long enough for that groundwater to come up to surface. What would a smart person do? Well, he would keep pumping, and then he would keep putting in more and more effort until some water comes out. And what happens at the start? Only a dribble comes out of the tap. And again, most people would lose hope and think this is a waste of time for the amount of effort I'm putting in, but a smarter person would keep pumping. He would keep pumping a little bit more because after that dribble, you get a steady stream of water coming out of the pump. Once a steady stream is coming out of the pump, you need to realize that pumping is much easier, but it still requires someone to keep maintaining that pumping. It still requires momentum, otherwise all your efforts will be lost and the water will go back underground. So this analogy summarizes the book very well because Dazza explains that there is no magic pill that can change your life. There is no instant gratification. It's a slow grind of hard work, improving a bunch of small little things in your life that you need to keep on doing consistently and constantly over a long period of time to see amazing results in your life. Now, Dazza starts his book by mentioning and thanking his father for showing him the importance of hard work and the power of this compound effect. Dazza's father was a single father raising a family, but he also had an amazing perspective of life. He was an ex-NFL coach and he basically raised his kids the way he coached his students. He used to tell Dazza, if you're not good at free throws, do 500 free throws. If you're not good at dribbling with your left hand, tie your right hand behind your back. You see, Dazza's father raised his kids believing that you could do anything in life. If someone was smarter than you or better than you, that's fine. You just have to work twice as hard. And I just want to quickly mention Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Jordan mentions the best gift you can give your children is a good upbringing, teaching them good moral values. I'll leave a link for the 12 Rules of Life summary in the description below, but Dazza in his book is very grateful for his father giving him such a head start in life and programming him for success. Okay, moving on. Let's take an example straight from the book. So there's 3 people, Larry, Scott, and Brad. So Larry's very happy and he's just cruising through life, not really improving, but is also not really doing anything self-destructive. He's pretty easygoing and is pretty happy with his life. Scott, however, he decides he'll make some small changes to his life. He decides to read at least 10 pages of a self-help book every day. He decides to listen to some educational audio in his car on the way to work, and he also decides to cut 125 calories from his diet. So this is nothing major, it's literally saying no to a can of Coke or a piece of chocolate, and most people won't even notice this change. And Brad, on the other hand, he's kind of sick of it. How about let's just live life? He buys a big TV screen, he starts experimenting with all these nice tasting foods that have more calories, and he also decides to install a bar at home so he can try buy more drinks more regularly. Again, nothing major, he's not becoming an alcoholic, but he is drinking more frequently. So what happens over time? After about 5 months, no changes between the three of them. After about 15 months, no changes between the three of them. Now Scott's starting to get very upset because he's putting in a lot of hard work. He's reading all these books and is trying to self-improve. It's not until the 31st month, so about 2.5 years later, that you start showing some clear signs of change between the three people. So you've probably already guessed this, but Brad has gained a ton of extra weight from all the extra calories he's been eating and all the extra alcohol he's been drinking. But what sort of ripple effect has this had on the rest of his life? Well, Brad is now overweight, he suffers from sleep deprivation, his marriage is suffering, and now his job is taking a turn for the worse because he's so grumpy all the time. On the other hand, after 31 months, Scott has read enough educational material that's equivalent to about a PhD over this time. So what sort of ripple effect did Scott have? Well, Scott decided to read some books on improving his marriage, and as a result, his marriage has never been better. Scott is now thinner, healthier, he has more energy, and is actually outperforming his co-workers with his new knowledge and his better attitude towards life. Scott has now progressed further in his job and is actually earning more money for his family. Now on to Larry. Poor Larry, I'm about to have a good go at him. Believe it or not, Larry is actually the worst of the three people in this example, and funny enough, he's used in this book to represent the majority of people. Tony Robbins describes Larry's situation as being in no man's land. Larry isn't motivated to improve, and over time he's actually numbing himself to achieve his dreams. This is the deadliest of the three people because even Brad might one day look in the mirror and decide he wants to make a serious change in his life, but people like Larry might spend the rest of their life in this no man's land state and they might never feel fulfilled. Okay, on to the next lesson. Dazza tells a story of when he was 18 in university and the lecturer asks, in a relationship, how much are you responsible for making the relationship work? So Dazza yells out 50-50, equal responsibility for each person, right? Someone else yells out 51-49 because you should have more responsibility than your partner. The lecturer turns to his whiteboard and writes down a big fat 100%. Take 100% responsibility for the relationship and actually take 100% responsibility for all aspects in your life. This is where Dazza had a revelation and he stopped blaming other people and he started looking at himself and taking 100% responsibility. If the printer didn't print his document for his presentation, he realized he should have printed it a day earlier. If he was late because of the bad traffic, well, maybe he should have left earlier. And if your relationship didn't work out, what did you do wrong and how can you improve? It doesn't matter what you're talking about, you can always take 100% responsibility. And if you use the example of something you can't control, like someone getting sick or hurt in an accident, well, you still take responsibility for your attitude and your behavior in that situation. So if you're not happy about where you are in life, you need to take responsibility for it. You need to admit that you are always 100% at fault and you need to look at ways to improve and fix it. So on to the next lesson, where are you in life? Along with taking 100% responsibility, wherever you are in life, you have to realize that you are there because of one thing and one thing only. It's because of the choices you made in life, just like the three men discussed before. Aristotle once said, we are what we repeatedly do. Dazza goes further and expands on this and says that if people say they want to lose weight, yet they keep eating McDonald's, or if they say they want to quit smoking, yet they smoke every day, Dazza, just like Aristotle, isn't going to believe what they say. They're going to believe the repeated actions that they take every single day. So if you just say you want to make a change, but you keep doing the same thing you're always doing, you're not really going to make a change, you're just praying for something different. You need to make good life choices, and Dazza suggests one way of making good life choices is writing down a specific plan and measurable actions and choices that you can make every day to be the person that you want to be. So Dazza suggests taking baby steps towards improving your life, and just like the water pump analogy, you need to keep doing it once the water comes out, you can't stop. And this leads on to another big message in the book. If you want to change something about your life, you need to first track it. So if you want to be better with your money, buy yourself a notebook and write down every single thing you buy, no exceptions. If you want to lose some weight, write down every single thing you eat, every snack, again, no exceptions. Once you start tracking something, you can start measuring it and you can start looking towards improving it. Dazza suggests tracking one thing at a time because once you see how helpful it is in one aspect of your life, you'll soon want to track every aspect of your life. So just like how the book suggests tracking all the foods you eat, another big message from this book is to clearly define your goals, and then once you define your goals and you have them in writing, you can then start tracking your goals over time. Again, measuring them and tracking them and looking at improving your goals. So most people say they know their goals and that it's very clear and it's all in their head, but Dazza explains that this is really nothing but a dream. You need to write your goals down and you need to make a plan to start making changes to achieve those goals. You should ask yourself, where were you 5 years ago? If you're in a similar sort of position with a similar sort of income, chances are you need to write your goals down to help you achieve them and become more effective. Now I can go on and on in this video about all the different examples that Dazza gives in his book about the effectiveness of writing down your goals, but my favorite one was when Dazza wrote down the perfect woman that he would love to marry. So this was actually a bit creepy to me, but Dazza mentions that he wrote down pages and pages in great detail of his ideal wife and everything that she had to have, all the way even down to the sort of hair that she had to have. After Dazza made a detailed list of his ideal woman, the next step Dazza did was that he then looked at his list and he started writing what that woman would be attracted to, the ideal man that woman would be attracted to. So an example would be if Dazza wanted a girl who was smart, well, chances are that smart girl would most likely be attracted to a man who is also smart. So Dazza worked on educating himself and becoming smarter. Similarly, if Dazza wanted a girl who was successful, well, Dazza figured chances are if she was successful, she would want a man who is also successful. So Dazza worked on being successful. So after writing in great detail about what his perfect wife had to be, Dazza then started writing a massive big plan on improving himself to become the perfect husband. You see, Dazza took 100% responsibility for the fact that he wasn't the man that he wanted to be in order to gain his ideal woman. He had to work on himself and he took 100% responsibility in order to change and better educate himself. And funny enough, he found his perfect wife in doing this. And another amazing tip Dazza gives in his marriage is that one day Dazza wanted to improve his marriage, so he decided he would keep a journal about his wife. That's right, he started to track his relationship. Yes, you can even track a relationship. Every day, Dazza wrote down one thing, just one thing about his wife that he was grateful for. And it didn't have to be something big, it could even be a small thing, that was fine. One thing per day. At the end of the year, Dazza gave this journal to his wife for her birthday and she cried and said it was the best present she ever got, even though Dazza also got her a BMW. Anyway, maybe he will give her the journal next time and not buy a BMW. But the funny thing is, the person that journal best benefited was Dazza himself. Every day Dazza wrote something down and he saw what he was grateful in his partner for. Every day he saw what he was grateful for and he wanted to show her that he loved her still. And he ended up doing all sorts of things every day, making her coffee, doing the cooking, doing the cleaning, whatever to make her happy. Dazza explains that in a divorce, it's not usually over one thing. A divorce is usually an accumulation of a lot of small things, usually from someone or both people in a marriage being ungrateful for their partner, and slowly over time this just grows out of control. And a lot of the time this issue actually goes unnoticed, so Dazza highly recommends buying a journal and writing down what you are grateful for in your partner every single day. And the final lesson I want to talk about is that when you make a choice, try and see 5 or 10 years into the future from that choice. So people now are so used to living a life of instant gratification, they seem to forget that your brain isn't wired to tell you what is good long term. Your brain is actually wired for survival. It's in the here and the now, and oh, that Big Mac, oh, it's so yummy, tastes good. But just imagine if you could fast forward time and the second you took a bite of that Big Mac, it was like you were eating Big Macs for 10 years and all of a sudden you gained 30 kilos or you fell to the floor having a heart attack. And the same thing goes with smoking. Say you took a puff of a cigarette and then you fast forward time 10 years from now and all of a sudden your body just aged dramatically and you have cancer. Quitting smoking and quitting eating unhealthy would be easier than you think. Dazza says in his book, saying no to that extra piece of cake would literally be a piece of cake. And Dazza takes it even further. He talks about money. Now, if you were to buy something worth about $50, you have to realize if you didn't buy that item and you put $50 in the stock market and you allowed it to compound over time, it would be more like it was worth about $250. So you need to ask yourself, is that $50 item worth $250? And I would just like to finish this video with the main point that Dazza says in his book, and that is, in life, you get what you are. I can't stress this point enough. If you're a hard worker and you always look at improving, you literally can't go wrong. I mean, at the absolute worst case, I still see an improvement in your life. But if you are lazy and unmotivated to learn and improve, well, I think you know what you will get. So Dazza summarizes this book better than I could in words when he says, in life, you get what you are. Now onto my thoughts. I think you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say very nice things about this book, but honestly, for an all-round self-help book that will improve many aspects of your life, this book, you can't go wrong. It's not very long. I highly recommend you give it a read, and it's also just well written. It flowed nicely, and it wasn't too short, wasn't too long, and I just found it very addictive. I couldn't put it down until I finished the book. I also found a cool website, PDF Drive. I'll leave a link for a free copy of this book, but you can also search other books that I've reviewed on my channel that I couldn't find a free copy of. Chances are it's in this sort of website. There seems to be a lot of novels in this book that you can download for free. Oh yeah, almost forgot. You can go to Darren's website and put in your email address, and Darren will send you free resource material that you can print out and fill out, and this will also help improve your life. I'll leave another link in the description below. Anyways, viewers, remember to hit like if you liked my video and subscribe to my channel and ring that bell if you want notifications for my latest videos, and you can follow me on social media. I'll leave links in the description below. Till then, this is Jojo telling you to keep reading.